Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I am your host, Laura Mignot, and this is part of my 29 Days of Magic series, where each day I interview an awesome Black woman in the month of February. And I'm so delighted to have a returning guest. Now, 2 years later, Rosenna Bakari, who's a best-selling author and empowerment coach. I'm going to be talking about what she's been up to since the last 2 years that we've chatted, and it's going to be a fascinating conversation. I just know it. Take a listen. Hey, Rosenna, how are you?
Hello there. I am doing just fine. I'm so excited to be here again 2 years later. So much has changed last time we spoke.
Oh yeah, I know. It's like 2 years or 25 years because so
Right.
much has happened since then. But even though you've done the podcast before, I'm sure you'll have a different answer this time because I'm still gonna ask you the same question.
All right.
Rosenna, what was your first job?
My first job was my first 14 years old, maybe 14 when I was delivering flyers. So it wasn't a permanent job. It was like, oh, this organization has to get these 2,000 flyers out. And so one of my mom's friends hired my brother and I to go and put them in the mailboxes around the neighborhood. So I'm not sure if I did a great job of that, but that was my very first time of getting paid to do something that I can remember.
Oh, that's awesome. So 2 years ago, you were living in Colorado, and you had this really incredible program where you were writing every single day. What's happened in the 2 years since we've chatted?
A lot. So 2 years ago, yes, I was also teaching at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, in their counselor education program. And what has happened since then is the program that I was writing in was a program that empowered adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. Since then, from my work in the College of Education and training pre-service counselors, it really inspired me to start putting together my own ideas and theories about what creates change in people and how to best help people. As I was, 10 years of writing daily is a long time. And so that certainly doesn't sound like something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so the question became, especially as I started planning to transition out of New York, which happened shortly after you and I met. That wasn't in the works when you and I talked last time. But as I started, my husband got a position actually right here in New York. We're in Long Island now from Colorado Springs. I started asking myself, what do I want to do next? And so I didn't want to move and continue writing every single day. I didn't want to move and have to look for another job yet. And so it was just a perfect opportunity for me to pick up entrepreneurship and start doing my own work as an empowerment expert and helping people move the obstacles out of their lives so that they could create the life that they want. And so that's what I'm doing now. So I stopped writing every day, at least on that particular platform. I write now and again, but I started writing a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, I stopped writing every day, but I still write. I write a lot more articles now. I write on Medium. I write on my blog site. I'm back to writing for academic journals. And in September, I released my bestseller book, The Healing Journey, Relationships and Wellness Guide. So I've been doing a lot of writing, and I finally started seeing clients again. And
wow.
And
you moved to New York.
Yes.
What's that transition been like? So I know having like running for every day for all those years and then to not do that anymore. What was that like?
That was actually emotionally difficult for me. Not only did I stopped writing first and started moving into this transition of building my own theories, like I said, theories of change and putting that in writing and creating platforms for working with clients, et cetera, et cetera. So eventually I dissolved the nonprofit organization that was a platform for doing that. And that was an organization that I started in 2010. And that hurt a little bit. It was the right thing for me to do, obviously, but all endings seem to come with some sadness, right? Then that I didn't necessarily expect to feel, because like I thought maybe, like, am I tired, or is this a failure, or am I moving on to higher heights? And so, like, that's stuff that has to be processed, even for me as a psychologist. Like, I have to really process what the internal experience is for me. So it's been different. But I'm so happy with what I'm doing now. I'm so happy, and so I value the transition.
Wow, that's incredible. What's the thing that you think that surprised you so most about that transition?
That I still wanted to write. That there were, like, because to dissolve a organization, it's paperwork, right? Like, you have to go back to where you started the organization. You have to explain and be in agreement with the people that you're working with. And so it was, as long as I thought that it was what I needed, then I didn't have to address it. I could just do it, right? But when you have to engage other people to explain, and there was no conflict about it. It's just that once you have to actually talk about it, it feels different, right? When you talk about where we've come from, where we've been, and where we're going, I don't do a whole lot of that sort of talking. I tend to be somewhat of a private or closed person. Like, a lot of times I might have these big ideas that I don't really express to people. And so this process of having to actually talk to people and get them to understand where I was, what an organization was, and why this was the best move, it just brought up feelings for me that I didn't really expect. So, and everybody was all supportive and everything. I just didn't, it's like, oh, this is what I'm really doing. Like, I created this and held this for 10 years. Like, I did this. Like, this was my baby. And maybe it's like watching your 18-year-old go off to college, right? And figuring out what am I going to do? Like, having to wrestle with myself. Am I still going to do any work for adult survivors? Well, it turns out that many of my clients now are still adult survivors. And so the work changes and shifts and takes different directions. And I'm still trying to figure out, how much of the work is still related to that. Do I let it all go? And so it's still a lot of emotional attachment, because that was my first public work that I created, was working with adult survivors. So
Incredible. And so, and what are we doing now? Because I hear now you're a best-selling author.
yes. And so now I am still, like I said, I'm still writing, but not much. Mostly what I do is see individual clients. We work on issues that allow them to see the growth in their empowerment, especially during the last couple of years. People's energy have gotten really depleted. Like, we used to have be so easy to have distractions, right? And as the distractions close in on us and were no longer available, people had to really start coming to terms with some of the emotional distress that they've been carrying for a long time, that they couldn't feel because they had enough distractions to keep them from having to address it. And so and in some ways that's a good thing, right? Because now I'm working with people who are finding their inner power, their real power, not the power that they get from showing up in their best dress suit, or not the power that they get from driving around in their expensive car. But now when I work with them, they are finding their real internal power. So that's like really critical work. And I'm super excited about that. I'm also working with organizations. If people have organizations that they want me to work with, I do similar work with organizations that I do with individuals. Why? And so my motto is personal development is professional development. When you have empowered people working on your team, you will have an empowered organization to the degree that people come to you looking empowered, but feeling disempowered from issues that have nothing to do with the job. You don't see those, but oftentimes that is what ends up playing out in the boardroom, on the through the emails, through some of the resistance that you see. And so I think we're starting to get that and understand that as employers now. Personal development is professional development. So I go in, I help organizations determine where they want to start addressing issues of empowerment and send them through a program based on my book where we address the fun part is that no one has to admit something's wrong because it's curriculum based. We just move through this empowerment curriculum. It's a great way for employees or organizations to offer emotional wellness without requiring someone to come in and lay all their vulnerability on the line, right? Because the way that things have been set up in the past, you have to go to HR and you have to fill out forms and you have to tell them what's wrong and you have to go seek your own help or therapy, or you have to do the 3 sessions or 6 sessions with HR. And so it's so convoluted. Good intentions, but it's convoluted enough. Mm-hmm. Many people will not seek help. They don't want to jump hoops to seek help, right? And so with the work that I do with the empowerment program, it's easy. You put your name and your email address, and then some empowerment experts start sending you information and telling you when to show up for live webinars, right? And do more than 50% of the work for you. Then you get to really just focus on your internal work. So it's a win-win.
Oh, wow. That's pretty damn awesome. And so what's been the response? Like, our company is just like, thank you.
Yeah. Well, right now, so this is our latest program. We just launched this in January. And so the few organizations that we have involved love it. One organization has over 100 members. Another one has close to 100 members. And I'm in communication with setting up a couple of other organizations. And so we're just starting to really get the word out. I really want to get especially people in higher education involved, because so many of our leaders, of course, you come through higher education. Either as a student, a lot of them come out of the administration or whatever. So I'm really working hard to get universities and colleges to get on board and help us create empowered leaders. But the ones who are involved, they absolutely love it. They love having a place where someone is guiding them through empowerment, as opposed to sitting there and trying to talk to somebody about what happened to them and when it happened and why it happened. That's not, even people that know that they have stuff to work on, that's not the most comfortable way for
them to do it, right?
Right. It's just not. So this is much more, as I would say, user-friendly, much more inviting. And
with the pandemic now, everyone is, reassessing what mental health looks like and why they have to prioritize it. And so by making life a little bit easier for them with regard to how you're able to sort of facilitate that for them, so it doesn't become a heavy lift and they can kind of focus on getting better. That makes life a whole lot easier for people.
Yes, and I do, and so I work with organizations and I work with one-on-one clients, but I also have launched a national program that's only $75 for the entire year. If you don't want to invest $75 in your mental wellness for an entire year, then you're not all that interested in your mental wellness, right? If you don't want to do anything else. So again, my goal is to make it easy. What my big dream goal is, what my Martin Luther King goal is for us to normalize the conversations and topics of wellness. So part of the reasons why we can't address mental illness is because we don't address mental wellness. And so if the only time you ever talk about something is when you have a problem with it, it makes it so much more difficult to bring the topic up. So my goal is for us in your job, in your home, with your friends, is really getting us to constantly be in conversation about what wellness looks like. So that's why I offer this at this cost, because I mean, that's my thing, right? If I can get you interested at any price in the topics of mental wellness, I know that I can change generations. If I can give you language and what to look for and how to address just the topic of defense mechanisms, what do my responses look like? Why are people telling me that my responses are affecting them in a certain way? How come it's so difficult to create change? Why do I keep doing the same thing? There's for example, a unit in there on how to apologize, right? Like simple, like how do you make an apology? What do you do if you are constantly apologizing, even when you're wrong? What do you do if you've never made an apology and you know you need to? So just things like that. Like you think knowing how to make an apology isn't related to wellness? It's not all about depression and anxiety. Like we keep getting these buzzwords related to mental wellness when can't we just talk about wellness, defense mechanisms? How do you approach problems when you feel unloved or unwanted or whatever? What defenses do you use to address that? Do you know the difference between self-soothing and self-care? So I'm talking about real mental health topics. I'm not talking about you have some burning issues. And this is going back to a previous question. This was one of the transitions for me coming out of working with adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse to saying, hey, part of this work is just learning how to be a healthy adult. Just be a healthy adult. So that's really what this whole Healing Challenge 2022 is about, is getting us to normalize mental wellness. So $75, people can join Healing Challenge 22.
So yeah, I think this is the thing. So we talk about mental health, and it's like, okay, when things are going bad, but like, how do we focus on mental wellness? And so what are some like kind of simple things people can do, like anyone can do to help them focus on their mental wellness? Like, what are your kind of 2 or 3 top things you would recommend?
Right. Well, one, join the Healing Challenge 2020.
We know.
So and I mean that seriously, because all healing journeys could use some allies. But one, I would say read, and don't read. So read two types of books. One, if you know you have an issue, try to find a book that's directly related to that issue. So if you have had a mother who was detached and uncaring, there are books about that, because that does have an effect on our mental health, right? So if you have an issue that you know is an issue, find some expertise in that through books or videos or something. But this is equally important. Then go back, and that's just so you can understand, like, okay, nope, I'm not making this up. This really did affect me. There are millions of other people who have this experience. Just that understanding can go a long way. But then you have to go back and find those readings and information just on mental wellness. Don't just read stuff on what your issue is. You have to develop an understanding of what it means to be mentally well. That's why the book is a bestseller. That's why it's so important. And the reason it's called The Healing Journey, Relationships and Wellness Guide is because for many people, the only time we are willing to admit something is wrong is when our relationships start to fail, right? So that's why it's titled Relationships and Wellness Guide. So I would say information, books, audio books, video and video programs, expertise. Now, all this is aside from you get professional help. Again, we're talking about just things you can do on your own. And then the second thing would be to find someone in your circle that you can begin to just have light conversations about wellness so that you can practice. How do I phrase that? How do I say that? And when I say it that way, does it sound good? Am I understood? But really, some of us are so averse to talking about mental wellness that when we go to even think about anything related to our own mental wellness, we sometimes freeze up and we pull back and we literally don't even know how to construct a sentence. And which is one of the reasons why we say depression and anxiety, because people have given us those words. So when we feel discomfort, we say depression and anxiety. There's a whole lot of words that can be associated with not feeling your best or feeling discomfort that may not be depression and anxiety. Those are the words we're familiar with, but practice using and understanding different language related to mental wellness.
Fantastic. I love it. So, what's it been like, kind of trying to build this in the midst of the pandemic? Because I'm sure it's been a crazy road. Like, what's been the thing that's been like the most surprising to you that you've run in the pandemic?
So I will tell you, when I conceptualized what I wanted to do, my business was online. So that was not a transition to me. In fact, it's funny because when I was telling my husband at the time that I'm building this business for online help seeking where I can work with clients online. And I remember him saying, like, nobody's going to pay you money to do video programs. I'm like, yeah, and then came the pandemic, right? And so it was that piece was lucky for me because there was no transition for me to make. All of my work is designed to be online because when I created the organization in 2010, that was online work. So I had been supporting people in empowerment online for over 10 years by the time I started this work. So that piece was really easy. What was difficult, where COVID really took its toll, was that when I launched my program, little did I know, everybody became an expert online.
So, of course.
Right? So the amount of competition for people's attention became really overwhelming. So that was one of the things that I wasn't prepared for. So it used to be before COVID, whether you are taking out Facebook ads or anything like that, prices were reasonable. Not everybody was doing that, but suddenly the cost of a online ad now, those prices have quadrupled, right? And because everybody's doing it and everybody's trying to get in front of somebody online now. So it's a huge online traffic jam. So that has been the biggest obstacle for me. So trying to get words out organically or through paid, because it's just so many people vying for the attention of your clients or your wannabe clients or would-be clients.
Yeah, it seems like they have sort of flooded the zone with all these so-called experts out there, opposed to people who've been doing this for 25, 30 years. Like I know what I'm doing. You people, so much. So, obviously, you're taking care of so many wonderful people who need help to find their kind of way and through their mental wellness journey. What are you doing for Rosenna? Like, what's your self-care routine or self-soothe routine?
Yes. I still do my running and working out. And so I still do a lot of that. And that has been a little more challenging because, I don't know if you remember, but my husband and I love to travel. So that has really declined. The first year was,
of course, everybody.
yeah, right. So that first year of COVID was really difficult. And even I think that, right? It's letting up now. So we travel, we haven't been overseas. We haven't been, we've been to Hawaii, which is in the middle of the sea, but we haven't left the United States since COVID. And so that's been more challenging. And so for me, I took the opportunity. I'm one of those people that turned it into work. And so I admit I've gotten a lot of work done because I haven't been going anywhere. And so that's where I do a lot of my, luckily for me, my work can also be my play. I love seeing clients. I love writing. And so I don't mind when I can't do the things that I really love. I just resort to doing the things that I need to do anyway. But every chance I get, I do the things that I love, whether it's meditate or yoga. I have not found a yoga place here yet. That's one of my goals, is to find a yoga place here. But every chance I get, I'm working out. We go to the movies a lot. We have our movie membership. We go see every movie.
Oh, really?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. My adult son lives with us. And so all three of us, my husband, my son, and me, we all have movie passes. So we go see every movie that comes out. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
It gets us out of the house.
Of course, you have to.
So that's the thing we do regularly. And then my husband and I go to the gym together, and then I run outside by myself. So if I can find a way to get away and do some self-soothing stuff, I do it. And then I am also the person that will have 2-hour conversations with my girlfriends on the phone. Oh, yes, I will. we have our phone bill. Yeah. So I do still do a lot of that.
Yeah, no, my friends and I have our kind of Zoom dates like once a month now, and it'll be like a 2.5 hour, 3-hour conversation because it's like everyone's in different places, and you're on a group chat, and that doesn't suit. You need the whole conversation and seeing each other is just necessary.
Yeah, I have Sorry, I was just going to say I have a client friend who just had a baby last month, and so we had a Zoom yesterday, and I got to see the baby, and she's still in Colorado, right? So that was really neat. So doing some of that.
We need the connections matter. You can't let anything fall by the wayside because it's just otherwise it's so difficult, and people just have a hard time trying to find their way through because it's lonely, it's scary, it's unpredictable. And you've got to reach out and make those connections, otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult for you to navigate this, because this is and in the best of circumstances, this has been a very challenging set of circumstances we all had to live through together, much less working nonstop, because you're home now, so okay, well, I'll just work. Okay. And that's what people have been doing. I know I've done the same thing. All right. And then you're like, wait, I've been on calls all afternoon. Wait, did I eat? Did I get up? Did I go to the bathroom? What? Yep. So it's hard to find those times to prioritize yourself.
Yep, it is. It is. So every chance I get, though, I do. So I'm always looking for opportunities, because like you said, when I'm not playing, I'm working. I don't have a lot of relaxation time. Either I'm playing at the gym, at the movie, whatever, or I'm working. And so what's missing is can you just chill? Can you just, can you just sit on this couch and chill, just do nothing, right? Read a book and, without it being a task. So yeah.
It's very difficult. And listen, we're into year 2, and the hope is that we will begin to get a closer version of normal, which is whenever I say not back normal. This is a closer version of what we thought was normal, because
Right.
we can never go back to the way things were. Like everyone's fundamentally changed, and
Yeah.
how we work, how we communicate, the things that we do. But like what we feel like is a normal, whereby you can go to the movies, you can go meet up with friends for dinner,
Yeah.
you can go into the office, like all
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
It's quite the ride. And so, lastly, you do so much for others. Like, do you have a give or an ask of the audience?
The ask is really seriously to check out to check out the Healing Challenge 22. Because the more the merrier, and it's important. And I want everyone to get a hold of this message of normalizing wellness. So that's one. Even if you don't think it's for you, know about it. Like I would like everyone to know about it. healingchallenge2022.com. And then the other one, the ask is to pick up the book, The Healing Journey, Relationships and Wellness Guide by Rosenna Bakari. Pick up the book. You can order from Amazon. If you go to rosennabakari.shop, you can order it from me and you'll get an autographed copy. But I'm not Amazon. It won't be at your door the next morning. But when you get it, it'll be signed. So those are the two asks that I have that would help people, that will help me to continue to support people, because I really do still do as much as I can to support people, to always have something that the masses of people can be involved in, that's not going to break the bank, that sort of stuff. That's an important give for me, right? And so I'll always do that. So when you see people give back to you in an intentional way, it's meaningful. It's meaningful. So I want you to understand that you're not just giving to me, but as you say, Laura, you're helping me give to other people, because that reciprocity flowing through life is really important. So I appreciate everybody's support.
Awesome. And Rosanna, it's so wonderful to have you back on the show and have you be part of 29 Days of Magic, and to see how far you've pivoted and changed and come in the last 2 years. Like, it's, I don't call it 2 years, I call it like before times and after times.
Yeah.
Because like, everyone's just so different now, and the things that how we're approaching things, how we're doing things is so different now. And so it's a delight to see what you've been able to do over the last few years, and what you're continuing to give out to the world. So thank you so very much. And we'll put all the details in the show notes to buy the book, sign up for the healing journey, and connect with you on all the platforms that they can find for you. So thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you. It's so nice to reconnect with people. So, and one day we're going to meet in person as soon as
exactly.
We're too close not to. We must.
Yeah, we will actually meet in person. I'm a believer in that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Cool. And that is our show.